What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Ashley, and I am a copywriter and an aspiring screenwriter and film director. And for my second video on my channel, I wanted to talk about how to become a copywriter. So I'm gonna break this up into my backstory, things you can do in like college, internships and whatnot. And I'm also going to speak um even if you didn't major in anything in college and you want to switch. I'm gonna do a little bit about that. I think that's going to be a whole separate video. And lastly, I want to talk about the job market present day and what I see the future being. Oh my god, this thing on my shirt, please ignore that. um how the future will look with this job market and with AI and technology um, being at play with copywriting. So a little backstory that's pretty quick. I think I can like elaborate a lot more on some future videos, but I initially did not start in copywriting in college. So my timeline was pretty much end of high school. I had an existential crisis about going to college. In high school, I thought I was going to do something involving science and making a lot of money in the medical field. I did not want to do that at all. But I loved art. And when I went to college, I was like, how can I be creative but utilize technology? Because I was like, I don't want to be a painter. Um, but what can I do that's digital? And to also give a heads up, I was formerly an art director and I became a copywriter. So my story is a little unique, but I still think there are tidbits that is at play whether you're an art director or a copywriter. But I'm going to do a whole separate video for art direction. But in college, I initially was going to go for graphic design. The school I went to had a graphic design program you had to get into. And if you didn't get into it, you couldn't major in graphic design. You had to find something else. So I didn't get into the program. You have two chances to get into it. I still don't know why they do that. Like, why do they limit it? Why do they have a certain number of seats? But it was highly competitive. Like, you're going against people who also didn't get into it, or people who may have planned to wait to apply to the program so that they can get more experience. But didn't get into it. I ended up transferring to another school and still doing graphic design. And that's when I found out about advertising through a guidance counselor there. Because I felt like that wasn't really what I wanted to do in the back of my mind. Somewhere in my spirit, I didn't feel it. So I ended up transferring back to my original school because they were the only school in my entire state that had advertising. So I went in for advertising as an art director. Um, I think I just chose creative. They just had creative. My program didn't have like copywriter, art director. I think it was all kind of automatically graphic design, art director ish. But I did that. Um, that was like a 2 year concentration. I actually enjoyed it a lot, even the non creative stuff. I will say my school's creative concentration wasn't up to par to other schools. Um, just to kind of go forward and then backward a bit, some people I met in my internship went to very highly competitive advertising programs to the point where it was almost functioning like an agency. I was learning stuff from the 80s. Like, I was learning headline, subhead, body copy, put art here. That was not cutting it. And I realized that wasn't cutting it after speaking to an alumni. Some alumni came to speak, and one, I had him look at my portfolio, and I'm glad he was like really like what's the terminology we use now? I forgot. It's related to Spider-Man, but I don't know if anybody remembers it. But it was that term meaning like this moment in time that kind of changed the trajectory of things. But he really opened my worldview about what I needed to do to be on par with people in the real world. And I decided on my own to no longer do that art concentration. And I just had people look at my portfolio from like alumni look at it in a realistic point of view. So me doing it on my own helped a lot. But yeah, I did that. And then another kind of seed that I'm gonna connect back to is my final year of college. I took screenwriting, which I didn't know would affect me in my decision about where I stand now. But I did that for fun because I had space and room on my schedule my senior year, and I enjoyed that class and loved it. So, anyways, throughout college, I did not get a chance to do any internships until I encountered what's called the MAIP program, which is the Multicultural Advertising Internship Program. If you are a person of color, I highly bold, italicized, underline, recommend you to apply to that program. That program changed my life. It gave me my first internship. They paid for everything, but I'm going to talk more about that, and I'm going to put the link down in the description box on how to apply. And I might make another video about it. But I did that, and I got a chance to pick my dream city. I always wanted to go to California. So through that, I got my internship as a junior art director intern, and I worked at an agency, and I got hired there full time as a junior art director. And then everybody knows about 2020, what happened, but me and probably millions of other people in the world lost their jobs in some way, shape, or form, and I had to return back home. Now, during that time, that was a pretty tough time. I chose to pivot into copywriting, and I did that by becoming an intern again. I became a copywriting intern. Lucky for me, it's not like I had a bunch of experience beforehand. It probably would be weird, or I don't think it would be weird. I would say like if I had more experience, but yeah, I pivoted into copywriting, and that actually became like a really interesting story during interviews and stuff like that about why I chose to change. A lot of people found that to be interesting and an asset in a sense, and I became a copywriting intern. And I even got an extension, which was supposed to lead me to be on track to become a junior copywriter. And just like the times, it's not that much different between 2022, which is when it happened, 2022 and now. But there was a massive hiring freeze, and hiring freezes are definitely forewarnings for layoffs. But I, didn't become a junior copywriter at that company. They basically like shut down the Iron Gates, which was unfortunate. I really thought I was going to be a junior copywriter there. But again, another seed was planted. I ended up being hired, recommended by my former art director partner during my internship to my current full-time job now. So I'm going to talk about that too, why networking and connections matter. So that's pretty much my backstory. So I have like a little bullet list to keep track. So next is how to become a copywriter. So if you're in college, I think that's an excellent starting point. And I'll tag in like if you're not in college, and whatnot. If you're in college, do you need to major in anything specific? No. I think it is good to at least have a communications degree. And the cool thing about that is the communications degree is probably one of the easiest degrees you can get. Communication classes are a breeze, to be honest. I took a couple. Of course, mine was a little bit more intense because my final 2 years I had to take advertising and public relations classes. But if you can at least get a communications degree, that would be great. Do you need a degree to get jobs? Not necessarily, but I would recommend it. I would highly recommend it. On job applications, they do always ask about college degrees. So I'm assuming it would be preferable to get one, a degree. But I still say apply if you don't have one, but make sure your portfolio it's really good because I don't think anyone's going to like decline you if your work is amazing, but you don't have a degree. So yeah, what do you major in? Yeah, communications. If you can get into an advertising concentration or program, I will highly recommend that. Look for a school that has it. If you want to get into a program, if you don't have that extra school, I recommend reaching out to people in the industry that are alumni, someone you know. Go on LinkedIn. There are some people who might reply to you and basically talk to them about what do they do at their current job in the real world. Have them look at your portfolio and give you pointers and tips. So yeah, and during that time, if you don't have an internship, not internship, if you don't have an advertising program at your school, look up spec work. So that's called speculative work. That's when basically you work with your classmates and whatnot. You guys can literally get copyrighted images and create a fake campaign for a company. Like, think of any company and pretty much go wild. Don't limit yourself and like make a fake campaign. For example, let me find a company. I got this magazine from Tiffany & Co. Literally make a fake campaign for Tiffany & Co. What would it look like? What would a print ad look like? If you did guerrilla marketing for Tiffany & Co., if you did a billboard for Tiffany & Co., a radio ad, a commercial, what would it look like? And it would be great for you and like other classmates to make a fake campaign. You can use the images on Google. This isn't going to be produced, so take that copyrighted work and create some work. So next, internships. Internships are very important. That's something I wish I had in college. I got my internship literally right when I graduated. I would highly recommend, if you can, during your sophomore, junior, senior year, get as many internships as you can. That's how you network and connect with people, and that is the highest chance that you can get to get hired somewhere, is by knowing someone. And you meet a lot of people in your internship programs. 2 internship programs give you real work. Sometimes some companies create fake stuff for the interns. Sometimes some companies loop interns into their real work. Like, you get a chance to actually work on real stuff that's going to be produced, and that's going to be excellent for your portfolio when you're applying to places. And you might leave an impression on people at that company, and they're going to ring you up, and you're going to be at the top of the list when they have an open position for a junior role. And they're going to be like, hey, let's get that intern we had back then. So internships are very important. Do it as much as you can. They're amazing. They're fun. And you get to meet a lot of great people. Now, back in my day, which is literally only 5 years ago, there were a lot of unpaid internships, and that was kind of my Achilles heel, is that I could not afford to buy an apartment and do an unpaid internship, which to me it's discriminatory, and it's the reason why our industry is a majority of a certain demographic in the first place. Now, things have changed, which is excellent. It's going to be rare to find an unpaid internship. So if it was like that today, back then, of course, I would have more internships. But where I was located, because of the college, what was around me was mostly unpaid. So that was almost impossible. And this brings me to the MAIP program. If you are a person of color, this is the thing that changed my life. It gave me my first internship. The MAIP program, which is under the 4 A's, I think it's the American Association of Advertising, something or whatever. But MAIP program, they pay for everything. So basically, you create a portfolio, some work, you do a series of interviews, you select cities you want to apply to. And the cool thing is, you don't have to even like be super aware of like the job you want to do. You can select like basically first choice, second choice of the job. So Even if you're not sure you want to be an art director, you can apply for a copywriter position. That's the point, is to kind of get you to see what you want. But I literally selected Los Angeles. That's where I wanted to go. I think that was the only city I selected as an art director. And I got a chance to, or basically, companies in LA who are participating in the program or wherever else in the United States are looking at these pool of applicants who selected their city, and then they'll go in there and pluck you, and you become an intern there. And the cool thing is, like, your flight is paid for, your housing is paid for. I stayed on a college campus in Los Angeles. It was amazing. You do your internship, it is paid. And at the end of the internship, we all took a flight, which is paid for, to New York, and we had the final conference, which was amazing. So I got a chance to live in LA and go to New York, and they pay for all the flights and my housing and whatnot. So I highly recommend people of color to apply to that. And also, being a MAIP alumni, they have scholarships and grants all the time. So it's like a really cool network. So next, getting the job. So that's what happened for me. I was an intern, and I immediately became a junior art director. Like I said, internships is one of the best ways to market yourself, to connect with people, and that puts you on the top of the list to get hired. It is a lot more difficult, especially nowadays, to get hired as just a regular applicant with no connections. Um, I know people who have been laid off today, since up to today, the past 2 years or year and a half, and like just applying to jobs. Like, that's the best way to get a current, I'm sorry, I'm like getting distracted. Your current job is through internships and connections. Um, Two, going back to the spec work, um, this will be great for people, again, who are not in college. Connect with people. There are other people who are just like you, uh, who are trying to get into advertising. They have portfolio schools. That's another thing. I never did a portfolio school. I also would highly recommend it if you can afford it. I couldn't afford it at the time. That's just what it was. But that's a good way to network with fellow students, to create good spec work, and basically have a really nice portfolio when you're applying to other agencies. So if you didn't do it in college, that's probably a really great way to get into advertising, is through a portfolio school. Yeah, so yeah, networking is important, connections are important. And when you get the job, not even like when you get hired full time, but even like during your internships, a really good line of advice I got from someone is like, being reliable is so important. Even if you don't have to be like the most amazing art director or most amazing copywriter, as long as you're reliable, that's what leaves the impression on people. So if someone asks for you to do something, do it, excel at it, don't drop the ball, don't forget about it, don't be lackadaisical about it, just be reliable. Oh yeah, look for opportunities, raise your hand. If there's an opportunity available, if it's outside the box, raise your hand. Like, that's how you get hired. It's like, they see that you raise your hand about things, you're open to things, and going back to being reliable, you execute it, you don't miss meetings and stuff like that. That is going to leave a really good impression. And next, or finally, about this is getting a mentor. Now, that's what I did during my copywriting internship. My creative director at the time kind of became my mentor. Like, outside of like my regular work I had to do, I raised my hand and asked like if he could kind of help me also improve my skills during that time, because as an intern, they don't expect you to be the most amazing copywriter in the world. Like, it's good to ask for help, to ask the junior copywriter and whatnot. Like, hey, can you take a look at my work? Is this good or not? Like, my creative director, he gave me exercises, looked over my work. We created a fake like spec project. Unfortunately, it didn't get to come to life because that hiring freeze happened. But that's another, I guess, good line of advice, is look for mentors. That's something else I loved about the MAIP program is that they assign you with a mentor. So when you, whatever city you go to, you're not going to be out there alone. It's going to be another MAIP alumni who's been through what you've been through, and they're going to kind of help guide you along the way, kind of be your confidant during that time. So yeah, amazing. But finally, how is the industry today? I will say times are kind of tough in the industry. I think that's with any industry right now. Like I said, there are a lot of people I know who got laid off almost 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, and still can't find full time work. Luckily, what I like about advertising is that you could do freelance work, but again, because of the times, it might not be as seamless, like getting this freelance and know that you guaranteed have something else coming up. Freelance projects can be one project, it can be a week long project, a month long project. You can be hired for a year. So some people are kind of getting by during this time period, doing a lot of freelance work. I will say, don't let these economic times prevent you from applying to jobs. I'm like, look at me. Like, I literally got laid off during the pandemic. Applied for an internship during one of the worst economic times. I got it. I got a full-time job during the worst economic times, and I also got that job. So, sometimes things just benefit you and work for you, or your work is amazing, and some agency or person is going to see through that. So don't not apply to things, or don't not go towards things because of how everyone else is doing. Like, it's good to keep it in mind, so in case, like, if things aren't happening as quick as you like, it's like, okay, I understand like how the times are, but still apply yourself and do it anyway. But finally, the future of advertising. As we know, there's a lot of AI everywhere. I'm kind of like bittersweet about it. AI to me can be used for a lot of good and bad. Um, I think it really depends on the user. Um, AI is being integrated into a lot of people's lives, personally and professionally. I know in advertising, it's not really like recommended to like just go do this thing and like make it do your work basically, but a lot of companies are using AI to kind of cut through some of the processes that might be more tedious or that will usually take a good chunk of time to do, and kind of like go straight through it so you can get to this goal. So AI is being integrated into it. Now with copywriting, do I think AI or ChatGPT or Grok or Claude or whatever is going to be able to take our jobs fully? No. Again, I foresee like companies using it to cut through some things. That might mean less positions right now. But ChatGPT and other AI machines, to me, still can't capture the rhyme, the poetry, the culture of people, the subcultures of people. Like, if I'm making an ad for Miami, Florida, they have a different lingo than if I'm making an ad in Austin, Texas. And I don't think AI will be able to like distinguish or capture the culture and the people and the language and the voice of those people. And this is not even including the different demographics in order to create an ad. So for at least for now, I'm not worried about that, but I am aware and I keep in the back of my head that things are advancing quickly. You know what I mean? Like, nothing is impossible. Everybody remembers, well, everybody, but if you can Google it, I remember that AI video of Will Smith eating a plate of spaghetti when it first came out and how ridiculous it looked. And then if someone typed it in and did it now, it it looks very real. So like, don't be ignorant to what's going on. Keep it in mind. be open to integrating it in certain ways that might make your job easier. Check if your job approves it. Some companies have like purchased licenses for certain things to use. Don't just throw in information about companies or clients you're working on into these machines and just like putting that information in there. So yeah, that's pretty much my outlook with AI. Um, it's interesting because I re-recorded this video. The Super Bowl was yesterday, and I've been on Twitter reading people's basically opinions on it, and I know that a lot of agencies have been using AI and whatnot. It might not be like in the actual ad, some are, but I'm sure some have used it in the copy. And all I can say is look at people's opinions on a lot of work. We can see the quality of advertising declining in a way. People can tell there are corners being cut and whatnot, and we're gonna hit a point where people are gonna be tired of it. So I'm optimistic about things. Maybe one day companies are gonna be like, hey, like us just saving money to cut this corner isn't going to be the best thing in the world. Maybe we need to tap more into the creative minds of our copywriters. So that gives me hope. People are aware of how this stuff looks. Look at Coca-Cola. Like they did a whole Christmas ad that was fully AI, and it was nobody liked it. So just because people are using AI doesn't mean they want to see just their world filled with AI. So yeah, keep that in mind also. So it can be an asset, depending on how things go. But yeah, just be aware of it. Don't be too closed off to it, but don't rely on it like a crutch at the same time. So otherwise, I think these tough times, that's how the economy is. We have highs and lows. We're at a low point right now. And guess what? Like a circle, it'll start getting better at some point in time. So that's why I'm like, don't give up if that's what you want to do. If copywriting is what you want to do, like keep at it. Keep working on it. If you can't get a job now or it's tough, try to keep working on it and practicing on it. Hitting up your alumni, finding mentors, finding people to work with during those down times. Because even the film industry is like this now too. It's kind of hand in hand. So I believe things will get better at some point in time. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have. Yeah, keep going. We need more great writers out there. If you're a great writer, you're probably at an advantage. Looking at AI, I'm thinking about like how it's being used in schools and whatnot. So yeah, that's all I have. Please drop any questions you have in the comment sections. I'm happy to answer. Next, I will probably make a video on how to become an art director because I was an art director, as well as how to pivot careers because I managed to successfully pivot from art direction to copywriting. So yeah, bye guys.